ball rolling. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of Talking That Talk official podcast, where we have comfortable and uncomfortable conversations. I am your host, Juice, aka No Ordinary Brother.
All right, what's good, world? I go by the name of King Exodus, aka X. Man, we appreciate y'all for rocking with us, for tapping in with us. This is our first episode of the week, so it's time to get it in.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today I wanted to bring to the table IQ versus EQ, right? For those of y'all who don't know the difference, IQ is the ability to reason and solve problems. And EQ is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions, right? This is what you'll call hard skill versus soft skill, left brain versus right brain, the mind versus the heart. Best way for me to go ahead and explain that for a little second, right? So, the reason why I want to shine some light on this subject is because a lot of people get caught up with IQ, right? Work hard, do this, build this. You got to study all the time, right? And you wonder why people are passing you up that don't have the same abilities as you, but they're more social. They're more easygoing. They're the people you can talk to any time of the day. They're the ones who walk into the room, everybody want a small light up. They didn't do a nickel fucking work. But they have the ability and the charisma to capture people's attention that wants to pull, that, you know, they're drawn to, and people want to pull them up right there, right? I had talked about this a couple of times before where I say, look, I remember a couple of times busting my ass at work, and a person doesn't necessarily work as hard as me, but a lot of people gravitate to that individual because who they are, how well they speak. That's why when it goes up to management, everybody is thinking like, oh, it's a work habit. No, it's a social skill. Because now you're being judged on how well can you manage other individuals and their emotions in order to get the job done. Based on your habits and who you are as an individual, what can you actually create in your environment? That's all I got on the subject. I'm going to break it down a little bit more a little later on, but that's all I'm going to give you right now.
All right, so we got a loaded topic. We're gonna take this very micro level. We're gonna break it down piece by piece. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna break this brick down piece by piece. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna break it down in grams. Feel me? So the first thing I'll tackle is charisma, right? Charisma, some people just have this natural ability to allow people to gravitate towards them. Some people just walk into the room and the whole energy in the room changes. It kind of shifts towards them. You know what I mean? Like, some people just have this natural sense of charisma. And on the flip side, you have people that like enhance that charisma. You know what I mean? Like, they go an extra mile. Maybe they don't have that natural sense of it. So for them to work on a skill set is for them to apply more of this type of approach so that they become approachable. You know what I mean? Like, growing up, a lot of people's like, they ain't smile much. You know what I'm saying? Because kind of mugged all the time. So when I started getting into different worlds, different people begin to tell me that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Like, people gravitate towards me, but at the same time, what can I do to kind of like be more welcoming? Start smiling. You know what I mean? Of course, you have to work on your inner self, kind of create a little bit more sense of self-confidence, happiness, all these different things, right? But once you tackle what it is that allows you to be more charismatic, it can be something as simple as a smile. It could be something just as simple as just your demeanor. You know what I'm saying? Your auric shell. People work on that. So people go an extra mile sometimes to become more charismatic. Some people go and read books. Some people study the most charismatic people. You know what I mean? Like, you have Barack Obama. People was like, yo, fly guy. Just everything about him is fly. How he talk, how he move. He's just cool. So, you know what I'm saying? He can kind of control the room. Yeah, but on the flip side, somebody like Donald Trump don't have none of those qualities, but still is charismatic enough to still control and navigate a room. People still gravitate towards both men for different reasons. So you're not going to always be a magnet to everybody. That's cool. Have your target audience, know who you are, know your personality, and know who and what you're trying to attract. So that's my opening on charisma, man. What you got, man?
All right. So I'm about to go a little bit down now. You know, IQ. Your IQ is your logic, your memory, language, hyperactivity, concentration, comprehension, rational. Some of y'all heard of the book, The Rational Male. Is a person who, men are more so what they say, more logical, women are more emotional. All right. So now I'm going to get on the rational level when it comes to IQ. Economics, risk, strategic, compliance, politics, right? Most IQ people, if they're 100% IQ, they have no EQ, right? You ever notice some people that be so frustrated at how they solve problems so easy why nobody else get it? Because to them it's easy, right? It's the ability to reason and solve problems to a point where people don't just get it and just be like, oh man, like what's going on? It's frustrating to them. They don't know how to communicate to people, right? But like this, the IQ people always have a translator, right? One of my mentors right now, we'll get in a room, we'll talk. He'll say, look, man, I can't talk to people I want to talk to. You know what I'm saying? Fucking shit goes this way, this goes left, this goes right. I'm not trying to be everybody's friend. Cool. Translation. I go out there. Hey, guys, I'm going to need everybody to get on one accord so we make sure everything gets functioned around here. I'm the translator. I'm being the EQ to his IQ, right? That's why some of the biggest people that run in businesses, if they're more IQ, they really don't succeed too much without having an EQ person, right? IQ people to sell you the ideas, you be like, okay, that sounds good, but I'm gonna give you the best one. The best IQ EQ person was Apple. I can't think of his name. What's his name? Forgot his name for a second. But anyways, we always knew whenever he came on a platform, he introduced a new product. He said, look, the economy, let's get everybody into our ecosystem. What you have here, this device, everybody in the world would have. He'll paint a picture. That's the whole point of EQ. It's painting the picture that people can connect to. With this device, you'll be able to connect with your mom, your dad, your pops, your cousins. Business meetings will be across the world, right? This little device is also a computer. I'm going to introduce the internet on here. And now, if you just want to see somebody's face, you can now FaceTime. That was a magnificent level of EQ right there at the same time, where IQ and EQ was placed at the same time. Yes, the device is technically there, the advancement's there, but also you have the salesman of connected to the individuals that made you want to buy the product, right? That's why there's two different sales pitches between Apple and Android. You look at Apple, it's more free-flowing. You look at Android, it's time to grow up. Type of stuff. All right, go ahead, brother. What you got on IQ right there?
Man, I'm gonna take a U-turn, man. I'm gonna go back to that charisma part, man.
Go ahead.
Man, I think we got to tackle this a little bit more. Charisma applies to, you know what I'm saying, our opportunities with women, our sex life. You know what I mean? Like, some men have a natural, you know what I mean, way with the ladies. Some men don't. You know what I'm saying? Those same men that don't, they could take it back to the drawing board and be like, okay, cool, what can I improve? I can improve my appearance. I may be able to improve, you know what I'm saying, the way I speak. I can improve my confidence. Maybe I need to work on my confidence. Maybe I need to hit the gym. Maybe I need to get a better car. Maybe I need to make more money. So you always have charisma on different levels, even if it's applied politically in the work world, in your sex life, whatever. Charisma is always going to be a highly developed topic that people tap into. And even if you got it all and you just smooth operating person, you still can enhance your skill set. You know what I mean? Like, that's just my take on the charisma part. But with the going back into the conversation, how you was applying it, I look at Henry Ford. Dude was like, hey, I don't have to be the smartest person. I just need to be able to apply the system, create a system to where smart people can thrive into that environment. And then I'm the one that put the environment there for them to thrive into. So I get more of the capital side of it. They use more of their creative edge and information and knowledge. Okay, cool. Everything is like a machine. You know what I'm saying? You can't build a six-figure car and put it on crappy tires. Like, everything on that car got to be top notch. You know what I mean? The tires, the mechanics of it, the design, the interior.
My seats, man. I need leather seats.
You know what I mean? So everything under the hood got to be top notch. You can't go make sure everything else is good and then you put some cheap shit under the hood. People are going to start to devalue that car because it's not going to perform. So if you want to perform, in business or personal relationships or whatever, you have to take that approach. And it was broken up to my understanding that even if we're talking about left and right brain, you have the creative imagination and the synthetic imagination, right? One side of the brain is more creative, another side is more it puts this shit into motion. It makes it
Rational.
manifest itself, right? So some people don't have the ability to do both. Some people do. Some people are stronger on one side than they are the other. So
Correct.
if you could tap into somebody else that has more of an edge than you on whether it's the creative side or the synthetic side, now you function as a team, right? So a lot of people fucked it up because of the ego. Uh, Everybody can't do the same thing the way somebody else does it. Hey, but if you're on a winning team, that's all that matters, right? The objective is the objective. It doesn't matter who gets us closer. We just got to capitalize on that objective. So you got a lot of smart people that has more of that synthetic ability within them, right, to produce. That's in the background. Sometimes more of the creative people take more of the forefront. They the face value. What I used to like about music, when you would buy albums, every song was in that little booklet, and you got to see who produced it, who wrote it. All that shit was right there. Nowadays, a person can just drop a song, and you're like, oh man, that shit was just crazy. They did it all. No, when you used to buy that album, you could see who all put input in that song, even where they recorded it at. The recording studio was there. So we have to look at life on those levels. I would say just, sharpen your tool on both ends. Don't be so creative that you can't be synthetic at the same time, because now you're crippling yourself. Even if you could tap into somebody else that could help you make that, form that machine with you. So don't be lazy. You know what I'm saying? Always improve yourself on both ends. If you're not creative, I heard one guy, what's the dude name? Mr. something. What's the white guy interview we tapped into? He's popular on
Mr.
YouTube.
Beast. Mr.
Right.
Beast.
He said some crazy shit. Like, I don't mean crazy in a negative, but crazy like I was intrigued. He was like, yo, I would have lucid dreams, and in my dreams, I would visit my dreams and write down some of the thoughts that I've had, and that would be my next topic for my next video. I'm like, oh shit. He's taking the creative edge that far to where he's willing to go to those extents. He probably had to study lucid dreams and all these other type of things just to come up with these ideas. So whatever you gotta do to be more creative and more synthetic, do it. But at the same time, appreciate people who can outdo you in those categories.
All right. I'm gonna move to the EQ side. EQ is the heart and psychology. EQ is your intuition, your empathy, arts and music, creativity, awareness, motivation. On the psychology side, hopes and fears, emotions and egos, experience and expectations, artistic and attitude and beliefs, behavior and styles, social and politicians. Right? Remember, we just talked about politicians. So politicians can be so crafty. Right? I always say this: like some of the best charismatic politicians can literally spit in your face, but you be like, man, I was hot anyway. I was hot anyway. So it don't matter. It don't even matter, man. This spit just hit my face, guys. Like EQ is one of the biggest things. Depending on where you try to go in your life, you will have to master. For myself, the more I've been moving up, and the more my mentors have been taking me under their wing, I have learned EQ plays an extremely valuable part, right? I tell people all the time, like, look, I really don't have a lot of hard skills. A lot of things in my life happened because I always had EQ. I looked at life like high school, college, right? High school, there's always a separation at the cafeteria. Popular people, nerds, jocks, athletes, basketball players, baseball players, the hood niggas, whatever you want to call it, right? I love the fact I can walk to each table and still have a conversation with anybody. That was always my EQ skill, right? I didn't necessarily have to belong to a group. I just needed to know how to be a part of that group, or at least speak their language. When you know the minimum basis of conversations, it can stretch you out to a long term, right? And sometimes the best part about being EQ, people connect over the smallest things. Music is one of the main ones. Who you listen to is another thing. one of the guys I met, I'm looking to do business with. I was actually working. I was blasting the audiobook. It was Dale Carnegie, one of Dale Carnegie's books, and he stopped me. He's like, "Hey man, every time you come around here, you always listening to audiobooks. Like, who do you listen to?" And I was like, "Yeah, Dale Carnegie." And I was like, I also looked to listen to Dave Ramsey, and I started naming other authors, and it connected with him. See, the connection happened on an EQ level because these were people he had already listened to, people he had found advice from, people that made his life better. So imagine that sometimes it can be who we listen to, you know what I'm saying, arts, music, or anything of that nature, or even what's my favorite dude? The Lion, Tigers, and the Bears. E.T. the hip hop pastor. Everybody listens to that guy at least once. So just gotta bring the awareness of the EQ. Be able to be a social butterfly when it's time to. Know how to control your impulses. That's another thing. Last thing I'll say is when it comes to the EQ side, you got to know how to shape shift into different animals, right? Meaning sometimes in situations you got to be the lion. You got to be the person that steps into that situation. And other social platforms, confrontations coming from you, you got to be the fox. You got to know how to maneuver out of those situations without being caught, but also not revealing your hand. So it's very important that you know how to do these different parts from being an EQ versus IQ. IQ is just straight, I'm going to lock in on it. And that's where they fail out at the same time. Emotional intelligence is everything.
Okay. Going off of what you're talking about, I look at life like you want to be well-rounded. You want to be balanced. You want to have fun. A lot of people break themselves up into different sectors. Like even in life, some people be like spiritual. Some people say I'm religious. Some people say I'm conscious. But I feel like once you pledge your allegiance to one out of the three, you cripple yourself because you can't master yourself fully if you're pledging your allegiance to a specific train of thought, right? So you always want to be strong, spiritually, physically, mentally. You never want to cripple yourself in no form or fashion. You know what I mean? Like one of my favorite basketball players, Kobe, was like, shit, I'm going to kill you on the dribble. I'm going to kill you on the post-up. I'm going to kill you with my left. I'm going to kill you. I'm going to dunk on you. He's going to be well-rounded. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to play defense. The shit that guy did to become so proficient in every skill set on that court was crazy. You have to go to the best person in all these different branches. You know what I'm saying? Just to become that complete package. And that's what you want to be in life, a complete package. So, you know what I mean? Like even, you know what I'm saying? Me and you at one point, Juice, I was quote unquote more conscious and you was kind of more physical. And then I kind of left that shit alone and became a little bit more physical. I don't know, you know what I'm saying, what specific route you took, but it's like sometimes the journey just takes different routes at a particular point. And you got to be long set on the destination and not the particular routes that you're choosing because all this is a part of who you are. You know what I'm saying? So you want to be well-rounded. You have some people that can say the same thing. I come from the hood, so I can break it down to people in a particular fashion to where, okay, they going to feel where I'm coming from, so they have an affinity to what I'm saying. Somebody else can say that that's not from the culture, can say the exact same thing, but they're not going to have a connection because you don't come from where I come from. So what makes me important or special at that particular point is that I exist in both worlds. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not loyal to either side, but I have
You're the crossover, you're the bridge.
So you have characters like that. I think that's why people was drawn to like Ghost and Power more than any other character because he could play both roles. He could exist in both worlds. He coexisted within one person. So that's definitely what you want to do. You want to sharpen your tool on all ends. And just even if you just want to be successful in life, like I say, it's spiritual people that's like quote unquote into the knowledge and information, and then the spiritual people that's into more so rituals. You know what I mean? The more knowledgeable person can't be like, hey, I got more than you because I know more. And the person that's more so in the rituals can't be like, I got an edge on you because I combine the two. Stop this separation bullshit. You become a whole brain thinker. You become a genius when you can wire the brain. One guy said some dope shit that I follow and I'll shut up soon. He was like, sometimes in the morning, I wake up and I brush my teeth with my left hand because I'm right-handed. People's like, what? But you open up different neural pathways in the brain just from certain practices like that.
Correct.
So that's the kind of vibe you want to have. You constantly want to strengthen your brain, become more conscious. That's the true definition of consciousness.
Okay. Like I said, man, you got the mind versus the heart. Um, when it comes to EQ, I really want to focus on a lot of EQ. I feel like a lot of people don't understand how powerful it is. Sometimes EQ is your bridge gap to the other side, right? They say success, you can't do it without other people. An individual I was just talking to yesterday, they said, yo, I like how every time you talk about being successful, you always say you can't do it alone. I was like, yeah, my motto is if I was meant to do it alone, I should be the only one on this planet. That's my motto. So in order for you to get to the next step, you have to be social. You have to reach out to different people, right? One of the individuals that we have brought up to the platform, that was a straight Instagram thing. We connected on an EQ level based off what we posted, who we listened to, before we even start getting to the IQ level of like, yo, let's see what knowledge or what realm we're both in and like how we connect. That's what I'm saying. EQ plays a lot of parts, right? Sometimes when they say there's $1 million meetings at Starbucks, you also see a lot of different people at Starbucks. You see the businessman, you see the artistic lady, right? Not literally artistic. Like you see the artistic people, you see some of the younger crowd. Like I look at some of these coffee shops as a mixed realms because everybody's doing different things. I might meet somebody from IT there. I might be somebody that's an architect there. I might meet somebody who does videography there. I might meet people who just brainstorm at coffee shops because they want to be outside to where the energy is, out there, right? The music is playing. Black Rock Coffee is one of the nice spot I go to. The music is playing. People are there coming in and out. You can have a chance to, ask people what they're studying. These are the small steps how you build up your social skills and learn about different individuals at the same time. That's the only way you can grow. You got to develop the EQ skills, unless you want to be the puppet master behind the strings, and conduct yourself in your business like that. But other than that, it's still a social game. Nobody wants to work with an intelligent asshole. Straight up, right? People all the time be like, yo, he's like the smartest person here. And the other people like, who gives a shit? He treats everybody like shit. That is a true statement. It don't matter how great you are. If you don't know how to connect people, people will eventually leave you. I'm going to give you one of the biggest analogies that people don't understand. People call themselves kings and queens, right? People, if you wasn't ruling in the right manner and you could have EQ, they'd kill you. They don't talk about how kings and queens was getting killed by their own people, right? And people get tired of them. Hey, you're not catering to the people. Hey, they're telling you like, what can we do to better the castle, to better the empire, and better the structure. Then one day, the people who work underneath you get tired of you, right? That's how people get thrown out of their own companies. People in the companies plotting on you because you're not willing to listen to everybody, what they're saying, what can make their company better. You can't be so logical that you disregard emotions. And when you disregard emotions, then there's a disconnect. And the people who connect off emotions are going to override you because then they have something in common.
No, tapping in right on that. Sometimes in life, the best EQ skill set is saying less. Like you can still be a social butterfly, but say less, right? You want to say the right things, but not over talk. Some people can say a lot of good shit, but they talk too much. So it can limit their outreach, right? You can self-sabotage yourself. That's what you're doing. You're working against yourself. So sometimes you just want to say less and you want to practice that listening skill. You want to listen more than you speak, right? Because there's going to be a time for you to speak. And just when it becomes that time, you have to make sure you use it effectively. But you don't have to be the loudest person or the most dominant person within conversation. And we're going to say that person is more of an EQ person, right? Sometimes people can say, me personally, they can say, yo, dude, quiet. But then when I talk, you probably will never forget what I said. Now, what's the irony in that? How did the quiet person say something? And you will remember what I said 10 times more than the person that talk a lot and say a bunch of bullshit. So You always want to remember that. Sometimes you just have to say less. Just make sure what you say is powerful enough. And if what you're saying is powerful, you don't have to use that many words to express yourself. That's what I say. Some people actually, now it goes back to IQ improving the EQ, because if we study vocabulary, right, we can use bigger words to take up less time. I don't have to use 10 words to say something. I can find 2 words to say those 10 words.
Mm-hmm.
I save time. I had my impact. Boom, I'm out. Feel me? So you have to remember that. Being a social butterfly don't mean you have the spotlight necessarily majority of the time. It just means you know how to use that light effectively. So I think that's sometimes what breaks up the teamwork and shit like that, or just cripples people at the same time. You know what I mean? So
Give
I
me an
guess,
example.
hmm? Well, like I
Give me an
said,
example.
sometimes you can overtalk. You know what I'm saying? On the lowest level, let's say, fellas, you know what I'm saying? You meet a woman, you already in there. It's already a preconceived notion that she knows she's gonna give it to you. You know what I mean? Only thing you got to do is just play that moment right. You can talk yourself out of that moment and opportunity just by over talking, saying too much. If you working with somebody on a project and you feel as though you have to sell your social skills, right, to fit into a particular group, well, you could also push yourself out of that opportunity, because they could be like, yeah, he's this, he's that, but they can find flaws in your approach because you're talking too much. So you just want to say less, make your words be effective to where you don't have to overtalk all the time. So certain people look at shit like that. Sometimes you can just talk yourself out of situations that you're already in. Yeah, unless you speak the more profound words become facts. Um, and taking it somewhere else. Hopefully you're ready for this one. I would say conflict resolution. It's a skill set that I don't think people really tap into a lot. Um, Conflict resolution, you would have to implicate listening skills. You would have to listen more than you speak. Your emotional balance would have to be intact, because somebody could say something to you, and depending on what emotional state you're in, you could take it completely left. Some people have to walk on eggshells when they speak to certain people, because they character or energy is like, well, I'm offended. Well, I didn't mean to offend you. Cool. But I just got to clap back. I just got to say something. I just got to fire back. Like, that's just, you have people like that. They can take a small situation and amplify it just by having that mentality. So your emotions have to be on point. Uh, you have to be balanced within yourself. Conflict resolution. Not everybody is willing to be the bigger person in situations, especially if they feel justified or if they feel right. But that doesn't matter, right? Even if you're right and you kill that team, or you kill that project, or you kill that opportunity, did you did you really win at the end of the day? Like, was it worth it? You know what I mean? And business, a lot of times, it's not about right or wrong. It's about what do we have to do as a collective to get to the next the next stage. No one gives a fuck about that. Your maturity level has to be on point. You feel me? Like, when you go home and you leave that business office, or you leave that whatever it is that you're into, that's for you when you go home, to punch the wall or throw shit around your house, talk to your mate, whatever you want to do. However you want to get over that emotional disturbance. But when it comes time to perform, the objective is whatever it is, whether it's to win, whether it's to make more money or whatever, you're gonna have to deal with people in life. And I don't think a lot of us was raised to deal with other people. We were raised to, right, live in our own personality. But that's just you and your world. You still need other planets. It's not just one planet. You know what I mean? Like, all this shit has to orbit together. And of course, you still have retrogrades. People might want to try to God advocate that point, but everything has to orbit. You and your own everybody don't have to understand your personality just to deal with you. I might not know you. You know what I'm saying? It shouldn't take for somebody to say, hey, excuse this person. They got, they don't know how to talk, or they don't know how to do this, so they get offended of it. No, you fix that within yourself. So, what you got on conflict resolution, man?
Well, I'll just rather say, you can still be wrong by being right. That's definitely 100% true.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people don't understand that. I bring up two different scenarios, right? There was a scene in Grown Ups. I don't know if anybody watched the movie. Adam Sandler had a basketball game. It was him and his son versus another guy and their son, right? Adam was known as his character was known as a basketball star back then, right?
Mm-hmm.
He had the chance to win the game 100%, right? But he shot it, he missed the shot, the other side won.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, yo, we know you threw that shot, but why? He said, because it has a bigger impact on them than it does for me. Because he understood that sometimes some of the smallest victories other people need in order to be, in order to feel big or be somebody in somebody else's eyes on the other half that you're not seeing, right? Same thing that happened with one of the movies with Taja P. That was just in it. What was it? Think Like a Man? Forgot what it was called. Think Like a Man. What she was doing? She was eating them boys up at that poker table, right? Killing them. If it wasn't for her ability to be able to read the mind, she was not reading the room at all. If she would have won that next game, the person that they was trying to draft as an agent, they would have lost it. He said, if a woman beats me right now, it's over. So, but she wasn't reading the energy in the room that her other colleagues was letting him win. The whole purpose not is for us to win. It's for us to win in the long run. So a lot of people don't understand that. That's why sometimes, to me, I do believe in crushing my opponents at times. And sometimes it's not even worth it. I'll be like, hey, you got it. Leave it alone. Let you have it. Small victories. It's times like that that make you a bigger individual because you have to understand with doing certain things of that nature, you can very much damage the individual mentally. Because if you always got to win, then like I said, you'll lose at the same time. You know what I'm saying? That's why in fights, for instance, what happens? Somebody get on the ground, we be like, hey, it's over. So other people be like, nah, man, he on the ground, go ahead and finish that. It's different levels to how people conduct themselves, even in different realms and different situations, scenarios. So other people, hey, finish him until he's knocked out. Other people are like, nah, he's down, leave it alone, he's bleeding, that's over. People walk away from it. But yeah, being conflict resolution is one of the major keys. This is why relationships are able to last, relationships end, for your ability to be able to resolve conflicts.
Okay. And just doubling back to that, we have to get to a mature space in life to where we understand that opposition is not always bad. Conflicts arise. Sometimes there's just a natural order of having relationships. Mm-hmm. It's not the conflicts necessarily, it's how the conflicts are resolved. Now, I'm not saying the most toxic conflicts of all are natural. I'm not saying that, but you're going to have opposing things when multiple people are involved. That's normal, right? You know what I mean? For people that's into astrology, like some people break it down on those levels. Well, I understand why this person is like this because they house is here. And it's, it's true. It's some truth to that. You know what I mean? Everybody is there's some truth to that. You feel me? Like, that's where you got to go back to IQ to improve the EQ. You know what I'm saying? Like, sometimes, like they say, if you knew better, you do better. Right. So knowing more should help you improve your relationship skills, right? Because you understand shit on multiple levels. If you're dealing with a smart asshole, that's cool. If it ain't too toxic and you have more of an IQ, it actually would give you more patience in certain situations, depending on the toxicity level of what you're working with, right? But conflicts are normal. Challenges are normal, right? It's about how do you get to that next level. Like, you can't play chess and you go to war over every single piece. It's two pieces on that board that's the most important, the king and the queen.
That's the most valuable point.
Right. The queen, she's the most dangerous. She's the biggest, right? Because she could make the most moves, but the king is the most important. He can't make that many moves, but if you checkmate that king, game over, right? So you can lose your queen and lose the game. You can lose your queen and still win the game. That's the importance behind those two pieces on the board. But you're not going to go to war and fuck off your queen over a pawn, a knight, a rook, or a bishop. That's stupid. But certain people, it's like, hey, this is my piece. I'm not going to lose my piece like this. You're going to trade pieces. People play chess different. You feel me? So you definitely want to look at the long haul, like you said, bro. You definitely want to tap into the long haul.
man. On some street stuff, man. Hey, soldiers gotta fall, man.
The Wi-Fi.
But let me go ahead and get back on. Man. Oh man, he done broke out, man. We got to wait on it. Okay, then you got
Keep
get
broke
back,
out.
man. Yeah, broke out,
I'm
man.
good.
I need to get your
I'm
internet
good.
fixed, man. Get your
I
internet
seen your circle spinning. My circle wasn't spinning.
Nah, your shit was better, man.
All right. All right.
Man, you got anything else over the subject, man? This was kind of like a little quick little deal. Trailblazer Clean just came back in.
That's a quickie. I'll go back to a comment somebody made earlier with book sense and street sense. Man, coming from somebody, you know what I mean, that come from where I come from, I just imagine if people had more balance. Like, the street sense is cool, but I'm like, man, you just had a little bit more book sense, you'd be free right now. Or you'd be alive right now. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes you have to have a balance between both. But don't let popular demand tell you what you should do more than others. Don't let smart people tell you, hey, IQ is the shit. Don't let people that just know how to talk their way out of anything or into anything just tell you, hey, EQ is the shit. I always want to have a balance based on what do you want to do in life? What is your end goal? That's how you should shift how you want to strengthen these two. But just don't do it by popular demand. You know what I'm saying? If you coming from the hood, people might say, hey, being a street nigga is it. That's cool, but most end up dead or in jail. You know what I'm saying? Some people be like, hey, book sense is the shit, right? But some of them, like we say, are assholes or they never advance properly throughout life. So you always want to just know what do you want out of life and what do you need for you to get there. And strengthen your tool set, you know, sharpen your sword as much as possible. Tap into your ego. I ain't gonna say the ego is all the way bad, but you definitely want to make it work for you. Don't make none of this shit work against you. Make it work for you. That's all I got. That's a
Well,
quick
in the
one.
words of Jay-Z, sometimes you need your ego. You got to remind these fools. So, but yeah, I believe we can go ahead and end it off right there. I mean, anybody got any questions or want to go live over the subject of EQ versus IQ? I'll run it down again for those who are just coming in. Your IQ is the ability to reason and solve problems. Your IQ is your mind, logic, memory, language, hyperactivity, concentration, comprehension. Your rational side is economics, risk, strategic, compliance, politics. Your EQ is the ability to understand, use, and manage your own emotions. The heart, in other words, the intuition, the empathy, arts, music, creativity, awareness, motivation. That's one of the biggest things. Like I said, EQ, you can motivate the shit out of people with just words. And while you have some people who use IQ to motivate people out of actions. That's one of the biggest things that we can also look at. Is that on a psychology note, when it comes to EQ, you know, so you have hopes and fears. That's one of the things that comes with it. Emotions and ego, experience and expectations, attitude and beliefs, behavior and style, social and politicians.
Okay.
So,
yeah.
got
Well,
anything
we'll
on
wrap it
that,
up
man?
and tap into the Q&A. Make sure y'all tap
Q&A.
into the YouTube channel, Talking and Talk Official Podcast. Most definitely follow the IG, Talking and Talk Official Podcast. Appreciate y'all for tapping in before we tap into the Q&A. Make sure you share the live. Most definitely tap in with the YouTube. So let's do
All
that
right,
Q&A.
guys, we'll leave Q&A up for, we'll leave it up about for a minute. We got some people that's just not coming into the live right now.
If you got a question, comment, want to go live, that's cool. Quick recap. One of the key pointers that was brought up is, you know what I'm saying, you got the creative and synthetic imaginations. Some people are more creative than others. Some people know how to produce more than others. That's that left and right brain talk. Got different kind of personalities. You know what I'm saying? Just be well balanced within it all. You know what I'm saying? To get to your potential goal, whatever it is. Don't be so reluctant on one side. Like I said, your IQ can always improve your EQ, or it should. if you really upgrade your IQ, your EQ to me sometimes kind of automatically gets better if it's really growing, you know.
As you grow, your EQ should be more manageable. Let's be honest. Maturity comes with managing your EQ. That's one of the major things when it comes to growth and maturity. Managing your emotions.
Facts.
All right, man. Did you let me ask you a question, man. What
Mhm.
give me your were you more IQ or EQ growing up, man? Or you always been EQ type?
More, I would say more so. I don't know. That's a toss up, man. Because if it comes down to like certain aspects of charisma and speaking ability, I pretty much always had that. But I was more so into knowledge and information at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, may have been strong on the IQ because I'm not necessarily a social butterfly, so to speak. I say that that'd be the only reason why I tapped in more so to the IQ.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I told you before, I'm more EQ, you more IQ. But yeah, because one of my strength posts, like I said, has always been EQ. Like the ability to talk to anybody I wanted to talk to, shit. And look, that was always a thing for me. You know what I'm saying? You never know who can lead you down a path with a simple conversation. That's why I'm always willing to talk to anybody, whatever you want to talk about. Let's have the conversation.
yeah.
Because, like I said, part of me always looks like, hey, look, I'm so curious and interested about the world. The more I talk to you, the more I'm eventually running to you again in another body. So that's how I be looking at that stuff. That's how people can always pinpoint out what you're going to say, your next move, because they already had the conversation 1,000 times with other individuals, right? Prime example, we always talk about the Godfather. Every time that man was on point. Every time. Like, yo, I didn't have these conversations so much. I already know where this is going. And that's one of the things about being EQ. And sometimes people have repeatable habits, even if they're in different individual souls and bodies. It's just,
Okay. Mhm.
yeah.
I got a question on that. Speaking of him, speaking on the
Sure.
Godfather,
Yeah.
for people that agree with the concepts, methodologies, and information, they'll say the EQ was on point. We know the IQ was on point because he had statistics, not knowledge, information, data,
Mm-hmm.
right? But for the people that didn't agree with the approach 100%, will
Mm-hmm.
find flaws in the EQ.
Mm-hmm.
So is the EQ bias to whether people agree or disagree with your approach, or can you like label your EQ yourself, or is it up to other people to say no, this EQ is this or that?
That's emotional maturity at the same time. We know if one method doesn't work for all individuals, it's not going to necessarily say it doesn't work for another one, right? For instance, some people, when they raise their kids, right, some people have to raise their voice at their kids to move in a certain pace, versus some people can just connect with their child and get them to do the same things, right? Some
Mhm.
people believe in discipline, get it physical. Some people believe in taking something that they are attached to in order for discipline or disciplinary action, right?
Mhm.
Ooh, I can go a lot with that. Um,
Okay,
mhm.
go ahead. But now the reason
Okay.
I ask that is because to me, it's bias based on perception, but it's
Yep.
bias based on what's your goal. Like even if people say his EQ was low because they didn't like the approach,
His
bro
tone.
still bro still had a million,
Yeah.
yeah, bro still had a million subscribers. So if his end goal was like, yo, I'm looking more so at the currency side of this, like I'm trying to make money. Well, if it's effective, is it flawed? And how flawed is it if it's effective? That's why I brought up the bias shit. It wasn't like agree or
Oh no, no,
disagree.
no.
But it's like,
I feel like that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
because some people feel like, yeah, if I'm making money, some people pay to see the villain. You feel me? So some people
Right.
play the villain role, and then some people play the hero role because some people want to see the hero. So I'm just like, that shit is biased. Like it doesn't matter. Like,
Okay, okay.
it,
You want to play that game? Okay, for
yeah,
next subject. Everybody getting on my boy TD Jakes, right? TD Jakes been that dude for 10, 20, 15 years, man. Now
hey, they
everybody
gone now.
tripping because
They
TD
gone.
Jakes spoke out about
Uh-huh.
why are black women doing the things that they're doing, and now they're calling him women bashing. He done lost half his congregation now. I'm like, yo, you can't. But see, that's 100% EQ. It's the emotional connection that people have, right? We also talk about what one of the major differences between men and women is accountability, right? A man can tell me right now, hey, look, Juice, I need you to improve yourself as a man. Another man might tell me, hey, look, man, I don't give a fuck what you're doing. You need to make improvements if you're gonna live this motherfucker. It's still gonna connect with me. Because I have the EQ of both halves, the professional side and a person that can literally just dig himself into me. Right? But you can't do that with everybody. Right? One of the biggest things I always do is, right, I believe in pulling somebody to the side. If it's a group thing and other individuals and eyes are on us, I'm like, look, I'm not going to do this in front of everybody. I wait till there's a time and I pull somebody to the side and I let them know what's up, what's going on. Like, hey, look, what can we do to improve the situation? Or, hey, this is what happened. And then there's certain situations where you actually have to address people within a group setting for them to understand, don't do that shit. It's all about the timing and when you do these actions.
Right. And I would say on the IQ side of that, your emotional response to a particular like choice of words that someone uses is also
Words have an effect on the mind, yes.
It's based on your IQ before we even take it there, because if you understand the message, you won't be so emotionally attached to how it's delivered. The charisma, see, more people that should have a higher IQ should be less manipulated by charisma, because no matter how you say it, I know what you're saying. Like, you can say, fuck me in a nice way, but I still caught that vibe. Feel me?
Yeah.
You didn't have to say, fuck you. My IQ told me, I know what you're telling me. I'm going to take it the same way. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to get the same reaction either way you say it. But that's another topic. But the TD Jake thing, I think that if people would level up on that, even with the Kevin Samuels thing, even if you disagree with the message, if the IQ was intact, you would see a bigger picture to what's being done here. So the EQ wouldn't necessarily affect you the same way. I mean, comprehension skills, social skills.
IQ is the comprehension. That's what I'm making sure people understand. Like when we say IQ, EQ, people, just in case people didn't catch, when I broke it down different sides. So that's more IQ based of the comprehension, that you understand the message no matter how it's conveyed.
But in this society, what I don't like is we promote the EQ, not the positives, but the negatives more than we promote the IQ. We're just a bunch of emotional people that just want to respond, just want to talk. You don't know what you're talking about, but you just got to say something. And the people that know less say more. You feel me? Like, I mean, literally, that's how it goes. They know little, but they have a lot to say. And sometimes we have to stop thinking that's normal. Stop thinking everybody got a right to opinion, because you don't. If you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, I don't want to hear your opinion.
I don't want to hear that shit.
It's a waste of my time.
Hey, I'm quick
waste
to
of my
say
time.
Somebody else.
I mean, like, it's you know what I mean? Like, people just really got to tap. I would definitely say, man, like, EQ skills are amazing, but definitely make sure your IQ is on point. Like,
yes,
even if it's lower than your EQ, let's raise the bar. Let's raise the bar.
You got to become rational, comprehension. All that goes to that IQ, man. Like, because we talked about it several times. We'll see something between you and I. We'll be like, yeah, why everybody acting all crazy and shit? Like, did you not understand what just happened?
Yeah, you did.
Like I'm gonna do it, man.
Oh, go ahead.
The stuff with the abortions, right? Everybody in the world went crazy, man.
Okay.
Me, you, and a couple other people I got to pull to the side. I like, that bill wasn't dedicated to black people. That was all about white people, right? Mm-hmm. Only a small percentage of people understood that bill was dedicated to the white individuals of the United States, because they're dying at a fast rate. They've been telling us since I was fucking 4 years old. Hey, look, in the future, it's going to be a lot of mixed breeds. Hey, the white people are going to die out. What do? You got to populate the earth back. I mean, you got to populate the United States back. What do? Get rid of abortions. What else you do? You start putting other things in. What's the thing they're trying to do now? Hey, look, you could get child support when a baby is conceived. What the fuck? They're trying to get... Yeah, this is a better subject, man. I ain't doing this right now, man. Hold on a second.
It's IQ, EQ. Once again, your emotional response will not be the same if you tap more into the IQ. You'll see shit completely different. So yeah, we broke it down. We went to the states and we was like, okay, cool. They took maybe the states that had the lowest white percentage of population, and like, okay, cool, we're gonna flip that.
Mhm.
So laws sometimes and bills and shit it's not passed. Well, bills it's not passed to affect everybody. Sometimes it's
It's
just for specific people,
it's
and
designed.
and that goes back to lobbying over voting. If you
Mhm.
lobby, you can get shit passed in your favor for your particular group, or you know what I'm saying,
Mhm.
whether it's a race, a group of people, or society, whatever. That's the importance of lobbying. So
Mhm.
yeah, and if you're gonna vote less EQ, vote more IQ. Actually know who you're voting for. That's another one. So
All
I'm
right, man. Like I feel like we did a good job, man. I don't feel like we got to go anymore, man. I don't feel like we got to do anything else, man. Tell us where they can reach us at so we can go ahead and sign off for tonight.
all right. Talking that talk official podcast. Tap into the YouTube channel. Most definitely follow us on IG and Facebook. We appreciate y'all for watching. Make sure you share the live and come back for more.